The European bison managed to step back from the very edge of extinction. The largest land animal in Europe, almost completely erased from the face of the earth by hunting and massive deforestation, has today become a symbol of successful wildlife restoration. Its return has turned into one of the most impressive victories of the conservation movement. In the southern mountains of Romania, where centuries of economic exploitation had left behind exhausted land, the situation long appeared bleak. Forests thinned, meadows dried out, and animals disappeared one after another. What had once been a rich and balanced ecosystem turned into a quiet, almost lifeless space. However, in 2014, ecologists decided on a bold experiment. For the first time in 200 years, a herd of bison was released there. At that time, the park held only 11 animals, but gradually their number increased to 33. Many believed the initiative was doomed to fail. Bison are massive herbivores capable of significantly reshaping the landscape, and the area was characterized by a harsh climate and a lack of infrastructure. Even specialists doubted whether the animals could withstand such conditions. Nevertheless, the project began, and within a year, something unexpected happened. Life started to return. The story of the European bison is one of gradual decline. Long before the rise of megacities and factories, these giants roamed freely across the continent, from the forests of France to the Caucasus Mountains. Their activity shaped the environment. They grazed in open areas, cleared forest patches, dispersed plant seeds, and loosened the soil. They were true architects of ecosystems. But their dominance did not last. Their numbers declined slowly and almost unnoticed over centuries as human civilization expanded and occupied new territories. In the Middle Ages, fields and settlements pushed bison into the last islands of wilderness. Mass deforestation and land cultivation destroyed their migration routes and feeding grounds. This process affected the entire continent, fragmenting natural landscapes and depriving large species of stable habitats. Bison survived in isolated forests, but the Industrial Revolution delivered another blow. With the development of technology and metallurgy, firearms became widespread. Hunting, which had once required skill and coordination, was reduced to a single pull of the trigger. In the 18th and 19th centuries, their population fell rapidly. They were killed not only for meat and hides, but also for trophies and prestige. The last population strongholds grew increasingly vulnerable. The most devastating phase came during the First World War. The Białowieża forest, which preserved the last major population, became a battlefield and a food source for the army. German soldiers nearly wiped out the herd. By the end of the war, only 9 individuals remained, and they soon died as well. In 1927, the bison disappeared from the wild. Only 54 animals survived, all in zoos and private collections. Scientists faced a fundamental question. Was it possible to restore a species that had vanished from the wild? Among the survivors, only 12 had sufficient genetic diversity to rebuild the population. Despite this extremely fragile situation, specialists chose to act. In the 1930s, the first coordinated breeding programs began in Poland, Germany, and Russia. Every newborn calf was of enormous value, and each animal was entered into a stud book to minimize inbreeding. This became one of the first cases of systematic genetic planning in Europe and laid the foundation for future rare species recovery programs. In 1932, the International Society for the Protection of the European Bison was established, uniting scientists and conservationists. Despite wars and political conflicts, the work continued. The goal remained clear: preserve the animals, increase their numbers, and, if possible, expand the gene pool. By the 1960s and 1970s, the captive population had grown significantly. Bison were kept in spacious enclosures, national parks, and reserves. Gradually, however, a new question emerged. Could they once again survive in the wild? Scientists understood that bison are not merely large herbivores, but a keystone species. Their presence influences the entire ecosystem. They graze, create pathways, disperse seeds, and fertilize the soil. In their absence, forests became overgrown with shrubs, flowering plants disappeared, insects and birds lost habitats, and natural systems grew poorer. The idea of returning bison to their natural environment gained increasing support, but its implementation required courage and careful preparation. In the early 2000s, it became clear that keeping them behind fences was not enough. They needed to be returned to the lands where they had lived for centuries. Romania became one of the first countries to take this step. The southern Carpathians, particularly the Tsarku Mountains, were chosen as a suitable territory. Bison had once lived there but had disappeared more than 2 centuries earlier. The region suffered from illegal logging, excessive livestock grazing, and the decline of agriculture. Meadows became overgrown. Forests lost their natural balance and the ecosystem deteriorated. Local residents called the area a dying forest. The organization Rewilding Europe, together with WWF Romania, initiated the largest European bison reintroduction project. The task was not only to bring back the animals, but also to restore natural processes. There were many challenges: mountainous remote terrain, lack of roads and infrastructure, limited veterinary capabilities, and concerns among villagers about crops and safety. Scientists were unsure whether the animals could adapt, and the limited gene pool posed an additional risk. Nevertheless, the work began. Bison were selected from various European countries: Poland, Germany, Italy, and Sweden, transported in special containers and carefully examined by veterinarians. The long journeys required strict supervision and precision. Upon arrival, the animals were placed in acclimatization enclosures to gradually adjust to new conditions. Each was fitted with a GPS collar to monitor movements. Cooperation with the local population became an essential part of the project. Residents were invited to work as rangers and guides, schools hosted educational programs, and community meetings were organized. Over time, part of the community began to view the bison as a source of pride and an opportunity for ecotourism development. In May 2014, the first release took place. 17 bison stepped into freedom for the first time in 200 years. The event made history, but the first years were not easy. Some animals did not survive adaptation, equipment failed, GPS collars malfunctioned, and rumors about bison entering villages fueled dissatisfaction. Funding also remained uncertain, and many considered the initiative too risky. Yet encouraging signs soon appeared. At the end of 2015, rangers discovered a pregnant female. It seemed incredible. For the first time in 2 centuries, a bison calf was born in the Carpathians. This moment became a turning point. Gradually, the herd strengthened, formed stable social groups, explored new territories, and demonstrated natural behavior. Scientists recorded more and more births, and doubts slowly faded. Over time, it became clear that the bison were not merely surviving. They were restoring natural processes. Their activity changed the landscape. Dense undergrowth gave way to clearings where wild plants bloomed again. Soils became more fertile, birds and insects returned, wolves and lynx reappeared, and even the microclimate began to stabilize thanks to vegetation recovery. By 2017, the herd included offspring born in the wild. The animals confidently expanded their range, and GPS data showed increasingly long migration routes. Ecologists recognize the project as one of the most successful examples of ecological restoration in Europe. In the following years, the process accelerated. More calves were born, the population grew, and genetic diversity strengthened. By 2022, studies confirmed a reduction in inbreeding levels, and the herd became self-sustaining. More than half of the animals were born in the wild. Bison began moving into neighboring national parks, connecting fragmented natural areas. Agreements were signed to expand protected zones by 105,000 hectares. Research also revealed a climate benefit. Bison activity contributes to the annual sequestration of tens of thousands of tons of carbon dioxide, transforming degraded land into active carbon sinks. By the end of 2024, the population had reached 210 individuals. The Southern Carpathians became home to the largest wild herd of European bison in Europe. The animals proved to be genetically viable, ecologically significant, and culturally recognized. What began as a desperate attempt to save a vanished species turned into a true revolution in conservation. The bison did not simply return. With them, the wild returned as well. And this is, without exaggeration, one of the most remarkable miracles of modern Europe. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.